right. So we're going to wait till some folks join us for today's Monday meal. And we will be talking about the budget today. And Breon and Cristina from CURYJ, both program associates, will be joining us. So once they come on, we'll be able to check that out. And my name is Liz Huck. I'm the Interim Executive Director for Oakland Rising Action. And that's my younger child, Senna, who will be dancing in the background apparently. So we're just waiting for folks from CURYJ to hop on. But while we wait, I thought I can.
All you guys to join.
I will. I wanted to just let you know that some updates about the budget itself. Right now, Mayor Libby Schaaf has released their budget on Friday, which was kind of disappointing because it left folks over the Mother's Day holiday weekend only 4 days for not only the City Council but Oakland residents and the people of Oakland to review this. Really, it's changed because the last time they did a budget, it usually comes out like in a big, very transparent, not as in like see-through, but yeah, see-through, so you can see where the money actually goes, because sometimes it's kind of boring for folks. So I think there was an attempt to create a budget that is just a bunch of links, and there is more, what do you call it? It was just a lot of links. I'll just say that. Oh, here comes CURYJ. Let me add them. And then I think, what's up? So I think, hey, what's up, Cristina? How are you? Hey, Breon.
What's up, Breon?
What's up? I'm just telling folks where we're at in the budget. I was just catching folks up. You know, as you both probably know, the mayor, Libby Schaaf, and the administration released their proposed budget on Friday, which was a week late from the mandated deadline of May 1st. And so now we are here on after a Mother's Day weekend. She dropped it very, kind of middle of the day. Everybody was waiting for it to come, and it was really confusing because usually the document is this big, giant, like spreadsheet, and instead it was like a bunch of links that you had to go to. It looked really pretty. My alarm went off so I wouldn't forget about Monday meals. So it was just a bunch of links on the website, and it wasn't as transparent, I think, in other years. It was very narrative, and it was actually really beautiful to look at. And I give a lot of props to the employees of the City of Oakland for the work that they put into this budget. But it just wasn't clear, and it really lacked transparency, right? And I think it was a way for the mayor possibly to bury things in the budget so you wouldn't actually know where the money got spent or where it was being linked to. But we do know that now today at 1 o'clock, so after we finish this, y'all should hop on to the city council meeting because they are going to be going over the budget. And so maybe you could hear about some of the things we're talking about today and take some points back and give public comment. You can also get on the website and do e-comments to let the city know what you're thinking about this budget and what it is that you want to get. What does a people's budget really look like? So I'm so excited today because we're going to be talking to Cristina and Breon from both program associates at CURYJ, Communities United for Restorative Justice. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves. And then your check-in question is, what are you eating for lunch? Because this is mine. I know it's sad.
At least it's healthy.
Yep. Thanks, Breon. That's very encouraging.
I can start. I can kick it off though. What's up,
good.
everybody? Breon, aka Brezo, formerly incarcerated youth from Oakland. Born and raised in Oakland. Working with CURYJ, started as a life coach participant, working my way up. A couple things we do at CURYJ is just help the youth build a voice for themselves, especially the one that's impacted, because the one that's closer to the pain and the hurt is better to make a change, I feel like. So I wanted to, we like to make sure that all the youth that they don't know that they have a voice, to make sure that they have a voice. And I like to just make sure to let them know, like, they can do the same as I'm doing. Like, I ain't doing nothing spectacular. I've probably been through the same things as me. And that's just a little bit about me. And I can pass to Cristina. Oh, wait, hold on, my bad, excuse me. When I'm finna eat for lunch, right? So, you know, I don't know if I know about iCarly, but some spaghetti tacos. I'm finna try that for the one time. You feel me? Because I already got some spaghettis, like, cooked and made already, so I'm finna just fry some shells, see what that's talking about.
That sounds hella good, actually.
Yeah. All right, my bad. Go ahead, Cristina.
You're all good, Brezo. Thank you for that. What's up, everybody? My name is Cristina. Pronouns she, her, hers, or anything really respectful. I am also a program associate at CURYJ. I help run the Homies for Justice program, which helps, young folks who are systemically impacted in East Oakland. And I was actually a part of the program before becoming a full-time staff member. And that really, shows what Brezo's, preaching about, how we're the ones at the front line, making sure that our communities are safe, right? When we talk about community healing, we got to make sure that we're in the neighborhoods that we grew up in, right? And we heal each other. We keep each other safe. Cops do not keep us safe, but we can get into that a little bit more into this live. So super excited to be here. Much love to Oakland Rising CURYJ. We have so much love for y'all. And I'm eating a homemade mini pizza. So ever since I moved out, I've been trying to, make sure I cook at home. And
nice.
So I'm eating a cheese because, veggie friendly mini pizza. But
nice.
Yeah, excited to be here, and I'm going to pass the mic back to Liz.
That sounds hella good. And, I want to say, Breon, you were saying that, you weren't doing much out here, but you're doing the right thing. And I think actually doing a lot. Any work that I know that you're doing with CURYJ is a lot of work, and providing opportunity for young people that, are from Oakland, and from East Oakland, and really mindful about what that process is for folks and how the systems impact young people. I think is we all say it, right? We all say young people, they'll tell us, they'll lead us, they need us, and we don't center them, we don't hear their voices. And so I'm really glad to have you both here today to talk about the multiracial work that CURYJ does for folks. And so when you look at the budget and when you think about Libby Schaff and her budget, what are some things that come to mind for you? Because I got a lot of nice choice words for that person.
For me, I just feel like just their thinking process is just not they're not thinking about how the youth can benefit, basically. I feel like they're just thinking about how more money can go to them. That's just my ideal view about it, because it's just blunt to where we can see we already proven what some of these organizations is doing for you. We already proven how it's making a better change for them. So it's like, why would you go more on the side to where it's defunding us and incarcerating us and reflecting pain on us? So it's like, I feel like they see it, but it's like, it's to the point to where it's been happening for so long to where we gotta fight extra hard and come together as, like you said, multi-race. That's what it's really about. They already divided us to where we're against each other right now. In a
Right.
sense, they want to make it to where it's racial hate crimes and all that, and we know it's not like that. I love all my people, especially any race, Asian, whatever. So I feel like they making it to where we're crashing at each other right now, and that's why they implementing all these, you feel me, little laws to where certain other people feel like we might need the police now. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But that's just my look on it right now. It's just like, damn.
No, but but CURYJ, through the Reimagining Public Safety Task Force, right? When we were talking about recommendations on like how to actually defund OPD, and a lot of that work was led by these amazing volunteers, right? Like all over the city, over 100 volunteers came and like talked about how to actually defund OPD, which is amazing, right? Because APTP, Anti-Police Terror Project, like 6 years ago, really went out there and was talking about defund police, and everybody looked at they were crazy, right? Like that wasn't a legit thing to ask for, even people in the movement, right? And now we're actually talking about it. Now we have hundreds and thousands of people around Oakland talking about it and across the country. So as part of Reimagining Public Safety Task Force, I know that CURYJ led some pláticas with members of the community. So could you say what a plática is, and then like what are some of the things you all learned from talking to folks? And CURYJ also did a text banking program with Oakland Rising as a partner of our collaborative. And so, we found out that, of the 1,100 people that over 1,100 people that we text with, 65% of them said that they wanted to defund OPD and refund, reimagine, and restore our communities. And so I know you all did some really amazing work, and I just wanted to give you some space to like share about that because it was pretty cool, the things that you all were talking about and what the youth were saying.
For sure. So yeah, I can take lead on this. We did have a plática where we had, formerly incarcerated, system impacted young folks, adults come into our space to talk about, how cops made us feel in our communities. And of course, we all know this answer. Our young folks did not feel safe with cops in our communities. They initially had said that was their first negative experience with police in their communities, and then specifically in schools, right? And we've talked about removing police from schools, right? Because that's initially where they have their first experience. And as we continue this conversation, and it was a real raw and vulnerable space for our young folks, for our Black and brown young folks who are obviously targeted and criminalized by police. And honestly, Libby Schaff knows this. We've been talking about this for years now, and it's getting real tiring. Like we have our demands.
That's right.
We're applying pressure. We went up to her house where she didn't open the door. I know she was in there because it was so early in the morning. Like, where do you have to be if you're not, giving out your budget? And this was before Friday. But really, having that conversation with our young folks, and then them having ideas of how to reinvest in our communities, right? Where should that money go? And we're talking about basic necessity resources like housing, mental health. So that conversation was filled with a lot of dope ass ideas that Libby Schaff should listen to, right? But unfortunately,
you know what she's good at, Cristina? She's really good at listening to what we have to say and then stealing it. She put out a press release, or she got on Fox News last week or KTVU last week in an interview, and the headline read, Schaff releases a just recovery budget. And I was like, that sounds hella familiar. because actually the Refund Coalition with CURYJ and Oakland Rising and many other organizations like ACE and I can't list them all because there's so many of us, right? They worked on a just recovery budget, and we've come up with one. And when I think about that woman, I think about the mayor just stealing our words, when in fact, when you look at her budget, she's actually given a lot more money to the police. She's cut everybody else. She's given more money, and she wants to do that's like basically, because one of our problems with the with police department is they use OPD, they use overtime, right? Like blanketly all the time. They just be using hella overtime like that. One cop, he was assigning himself overtime to be the person who led at events, right? He made, you know, millions of dollars over the last, you know, 5 years. And I can't even remember all of the numbers, but it's really appalling right now. And she's basically taken part of the budget and said, okay, instead of us kind of going over and asking for more money, let's just legitimize overtime spending at the levels we've spent in the past. There's no other department in the city of, what would happen if you all did overtime and didn't ask?
Probably get fired.
Yeah.
Oh,
But the police do it all the time, right? And so, like, I guess one of the things I want to hear from you all too, and hear from some of the things that the young people are saying at CURYJ, is about what would bring safety. What does safety really look like for you all? And what part of the budget are you thinking we really need to invest our money in? And like, you know, maybe we could talk a little bit about some recommendations from the task force that CURYJ gets behind, and just really lift those things up here.
I mean, I could say a few things on that. I feel like, well, a couple of things that we talk about in our DBB group, drink behind bars, basically. Is basically like the police is just causing more conflict, pretty much, because it's like when a person see the police, the first thing they think, like their heart might race, you know what I mean? They start thinking to be cautious, they start getting scared or intimidated. But if you see somebody else come to the scene to where it says, like, say they have a different logo instead of the police, you know what I mean? It just, that would just defuse the situation from the start, just by them not even seeing the police. So basically how we was trying to, similar to the Crisis Act, how we was trying to push it at, basically to where we could have somebody, hopefully from the community, that's been impacted, to where you see that person in that neighborhood, to where, you know, out of nowhere, you see them and it's like, okay, it's different from the police. It's a whole different feeling. It's a different aspect, to where they can get called on normal things. Like, you know how people be like, turn the music down, or they're being too loud, or people outside on the street. Like, you know how people be on the corners, and by people, a main person that's from that community, instead of the police can come over there and be like, yeah, that's what they're trying to do. That would diffuse everything, instead of the police coming and next thing you know, this is a whole chaos. It's just out of there about people saying the police. So one is just really the Crisis Act. That's one that we're really pushing for right there. Just defund the police and to get them out, and to have somebody that attend to mental health situations instead of the police too. So where we don't need really the police to come to every conflict or every issue that happens, because basically they can't benefit or help everything. And then like another thing is, we were just seeing that most of the time when police come address a situation, they never ask, "Are you okay?" In the beginning, they always ask, "What happened?" You know what I mean? Like
what you do wrong.
Exactly. It's never like, "Are you okay?"
Right.
Like,
can I help you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always the like, what do you do? Like, what happened? How this happened? Like, it's so aggressive. They're not coming. It's the way they come off is not coming off to help. So just number one, I just feel like we need more people that's impacted from the communities, because I know they out there.
Right.
And just to get them on the main lines, to where if they not feel like, if they know they, to where they want to do it too, because they already out there. I got people in a couple of my neighborhoods that's already out there doing it. And the fact that they know they can lightweight benefit and stop the police from coming and lightweight get paid for it, and to bring it back to the community, to know that it can bring other elders around different communities too, to let them know, hey, this is what I'm doing over here. You know, I'm over here shutting down or causing a crime rate, because I live in the 50s by Seminary. It's so-called the danger zone. But I know OGs too that's around there that lightweight try to defuse certain situations that's always outside, but just the fact that they know that this is something real, but they don't really know them type of platforms. They so stuck in the streets in a way, but just in the sense that they know, oh, I could really do this and get paid for it and make a change in my hood, something I'm already doing, but I can't do it as much because I don't got that help.
Right.
So it's just the kindness that really we're pushing for.
I mean, imagine that, right? Breon, like if we had funding going to programs like that, where we're like hiring folks, because right now, one of the reasons why we have so much violence and quote unquote crime is that people are suffering. Like economically, things are really bad right now, right? Like the pandemic has really hit our communities hard. And so people are just trying to survive out here, right? And when you have a system that doesn't take care of your people, then people are they're gonna have to take care of themselves, right? And so, like, I look at this budget and I think, damn, what would that be like? Like, let's give hella jobs to people. Why are we giving all this money so that a cop can come and potentially kill one of our community members, right? Instead, we could be doing exactly what Breon is talking about. Because there's people in the community that could use the work, and then they, you know, and they know the people, they know who they're talking to.
And I was gonna say another thing too is, like, I'm just learning more about the government, learning about politics too, as well. But I'm just seeing how much money is developing to where every youth, I feel like when they turn 18, they should be able to get stipend from the government, to where like they got a certain amount of money to where you mess. I mean, I don't mean to cuss, I don't really know what's on here, so I ain't gonna cuss, but like you ain't gonna F it off, like, you feel me? I feel like everybody should get a set amount. You 18, like when I turned 18, I didn't have like no fallback. Like my grandma was on Section 8. I'm not living over there, never really was. So when I turned 18, where I'm gonna go,
right?
Like, so it's like the fact that the government is not even analyzing that, they can give everybody $50K literally when they turn 18. And that right there, and it can help with housing. So I don't understand. And that can stop so many crime rates and so many, that's what I'm saying, we're suffering. So many issues that can be resolved because most kids, they don't have to grow up with the mentality. Because I already know kids right now is 16, 17, that's growing up like, I got to make money now for myself because when I turn 18, I'm not going to have nothing.
Right.
But just the fact that when they already 15 to 16, they analyzing, all right, I'm going to get this 30K. With, you know what I mean? That's they helping us. That's really, if you really want to help us and change and want us to do better and want the community to progress and want our future, which is the kids that's growing up now, to have a different outlook. Because at the end of the day, most kids out here struggling don't have two parents. So it's like, can they fall back on when they turn 18? So I feel like one day we should make a bill. I don't know even how we can push it, but to where every kid when they turn 18, they get some type of stipend. Right.
Yeah, you know, they've been talking about that. I mean, you talking about it now, like just really speaking from your heart about it.
Yeah.
But there is something out there called universal basic income. And the city is experimenting with what that could look like. It's a really super small amount. I think it's like $500 a month for, like, you know, people who really need it. But it's also like, we need more than that. We need more than just like a couple hundred people like getting help. We need like everybody. And the amount of money that is going into the police department, it's like $450 million from our general fund. Like, I can't even, they're talking about funding $650,000. Let me say it again, $650,000 to make a study if they want to or should rebuild the police headquarters. How many people you know what they could do with $650,000? Like,
start a few businesses.
I'm saying, not just a few businesses, right? Like, how many small businesses could use $10,000-$20,000 from that 650? And that's what the mayor wants to prioritize, is better offices for the police.
For them to just sit there and eat donuts
I'm saying,
and
and
drink
then they
coffee.
block off the streets. We don't even
Yeah.
know that. Beth asked how much to demolish. Right, exactly. Maybe that $650,000 will find out for us how much it costs to demolish that thing. But I want to give Cristina an opportunity to jump in too, right? And I think you have been working, and CURYJ has been working very closely with the family of Mario Gonzalez. He was a D7, District 7 resident here in Deep East Oakland, and he went to Alameda, and some white neighbors decided to call cops on him because he seemed disoriented, and they were quote unquote afraid of this brown man in their community. And I know that, and then, the police came, and then they tried to arrest him with no clear reason for why. They were going to detain him, and then he died from asphyxiation because they held him down on the ground with their hands, their knees, their elbows on his back, and choked him to death. And so cut off all the air, and he died. So I know that CURYJ has been working very closely with the family, and so just wanting to hear, like, what's that, you all are seeing that direct connection, because I know that CURYJ was close, very close to Mario Gonzalez's heart, and some of the folks that work for CURYJ. So I was wondering if you might be able to share a little bit about where things are at, and what's the call to action that CURYJ is asking for folks when listening to Mario's story.
So yeah, for sure. Thank you, Liz, for bringing that up. Really, Mario Gonzalez, him and his family are out here in East Oakland, in the deep. So, Libby Mayor Schaaf has still not, said anything to the family. This is supposed to be her city. She's the one supposed to be protecting us, taking care of us. But when something like this happens in her own town, nothing is done, right? And as of right now, we've been applying pressure to District O'Malley, making sure that they fire the cops, they charge them, and still, we haven't heard anything back. As of right now, for like direct actions, we do have that petition that's in our link tree in our bio, and also, the GoFundMe, because, everything happened all of a sudden, so suddenly. And, when we really think about stuff like this, we don't ever really think it's going to hit home, but
Right.
It did this time. But, making sure that we knew how to handle it, because, unfortunate events of it not being the first time, right? This is not the
Right.
first time someone was killed in the Bay Area by law enforcement, unfortunately. And that's, the messed up reality of how police come into our communities. They do not come into situations to de-escalate. They accelerate. And the way that happened, it shouldn't have happened. And unfortunately, I did see the video, which was, heartbreaking, because I don't like seeing those videos.
Right.
But I did see it, and I was just like, damn, like, this is where our money is going to these people, handling and taking care and protecting our communities. But what they did, really showed, like, this, like, training BS that they talk about, how to, like, take care of folks or, detain them, is just all lies. Because
Right.
if we're paying, our tax money of our budget is going to y'all, like, why was this situation handled the way it was? Like, it could have been prevented,
Right.
And this is where Libby Schaaf comes in, like, yo, like, did you see this video? Do you know that stuff like this happens in our communities?
Right.
Do you know that you're making sure that these people are getting paid?
Yep.
Like, how
Right.
do you not see that? How do you not peep that?
Right.
You're supposed to be our mayor. You're supposed
Right.
to be listening to us, our
Right.
demands, our families, our young people. But you do the complete opposite, which is so infuriating. Because now we lost a community member. Someone lost their brother, someone lost their son, someone lost their dad.
Mm.
And they can never get that back. And Libby Schaaf has still said nothing. You're the mayor of the city. Like, what are you talking about? You go up into these places speaking about, like, yeah, our community this, our community that, but like, you don't do what you preach, which is just hella like tiring. Like I said before, I'm just really freaking tired of this whole situation. But really making sure, like, our communities need to feel safe, and police do not make our community safe. Like I said, we protect each other. When we have, and Breon, brought up like the mental health aspect, making sure that our youngsters and our, older folks as well, know how to take care of each other in these certain situations, right? We don't need to call up 911. We have other lines that we can call to, right?
Right.
So making sure, like, we move around that, right? Instead of, like, automatically, oh, my God, I'm going to call the police. We're like, no, let's call this place. They know what to do. They know how to act in these situations. And, hopefully that happens with our young folks that, like, oh, like, now they know. Now they're prepped when to be in these situations. And that's really what we want to do. They're our next generation. They're the generation that are going to take on to the, next thing, right? So really having them prepared, really having them, like even knowing their rights, right? Because that's something that we still don't see in our schools,
right?
But we do see police in our schools, so that doesn't even make sense, right? So making sure that, like I said, we take care of our communities.
Thank you for that. I heard Linda Sanchez, the program director at CURYJ, say in front of Libby's house, she said that Mario's mom talked about how Mario liked to actually go to Alameda because it was quiet and safe, and because he didn't feel that way in Deep East Oakland. And I really think that speaks to the disinvestment that has happened. I've talked about it many times, y'all, like the disinvestment that this city has had, particularly in Deep East Oakland, but for the flatlands of Oakland, right? And just the way that gentrification has happened and really pushed out people and made it almost unlivable to live here, right? For poor people, for poor working class people. And so I really hear that, because it's like what we're calling for is a budget that takes care of all of our people in Oakland, so that Mario and other folks feel like I could stay here and I feel safe here, right? And the other thing that I wanted to mention was that actually, yes, up until this year, we have had a police department in the Oakland Unified School District, but mad props to Black Organizing Project, right? They got the resolution passed, and now they're working out all the details with OUSD to remove the police department. So give big shout out to Black Organizing Project for their years and years of work to make that happen, and what that means. It's amazing to see. And then also, I just want to say that when looking at this budget and this moment, we do have opportunity for those alternative places to call, right? Outside of the city budget, there are so many organizations out there that are doing direct work. So when you're in a situation with domestic violence, you ain't calling the cops. Cops don't do shit about domestic violence. Who do you call? You call a domestic violence advocacy organization that's going to help you. You don't call 911 when someone's in a suicidal situation. Who do you call? Suicide hotlines. These are all things that are set up out of the police department that are possible. We do them. We know how to. And again, I'm going to mention APTP because they have their MH First in Sacramento, but brought to Oakland. And I know that CURYJ has been involved with MH First, and like volunteering your time, and some of your folks are going to MH First and taking phone calls on the weekends. And we have that opportunity here to create a system through the macro program that was really fought hard by organizations doing organizing in the community. Let's be really clear. This came about because of organizing. And so I just wanted to mention those things just so that folks know and that they could follow up too. I'm just really, I always have I have mad love for CURYJ because, CURYJ came out of stop and frisk, right? There was a time when there was stop and frisk in New York and in other cities, and Oakland started implementing gang injunctions. And these are like leftover policies and ideas from when they were trying to pass Prop 21 at the state level, which was basically three or more people who are gathered and look the same are considered a gang and can be cited as such, right? So how many of y'all dress like your friends? I do. I know that I have my own style, but hella people, when they roll with their friends, they roll the same, and they're not a gang, right? And so it was similar. So these gang injunctions were just basically going through East Oakland and just rounding up young people, right, and throwing them into juvenile hall. And so CURYJ actually came out of that work and really fighting to dismantle that. So if you're looking for organizations that, like, there are always people who are like, who's doing that work? We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to do that. We have to wait. There's nothing successful out there. And I'm going to say right here, 2 stories of success having gone through CURYJ's program. Like, I just want to give you 2 mad props for showing up and talking about that work and then doing the work, doing the organizing that you're doing. And so I wanted to hear, maybe just as we close out, what are your hopes? What are your hopes for this budget? What are your hopes for Oakland? And what are your hopes for, for young folks here in Oakland?
Go ahead. You want to go first, Cristina?
You got it. I just put space.
So you said,
what are your
the
hopes?
hope for this budget? All right. For the budget? Yeah, I hope that, I mean, already at the point to where they want to follow through with it, but I just hope they reanalyze it, review it, and just look to see, like, the more of the programs that you just said, like, not even the programs, I mean the hotlines, like you just said, like the suicide hotlines, domestic violence, like, look more to where we can hire more people in that outlook, you know what I mean? Instead of, because that's where I feel like most of the situations that happen, police don't really get called for you know what I mean? They don't get called when somebody passed away or when they get shot, because they already shot, so it's a different story. They already get called. They only mostly get called when somebody stealing, robbing, you know what I mean, burglary, like, and then they escalate off of that. So I feel like if we invest more into them and they take more of that money, mostly all of it out of that budget, and invest more into where we can help or where the community can help, not the police, basically. I feel like it's more the community can change it. It's not the police that can change nothing. They already messed it up 20 years ago. So probably past that. Like, they already been messed it, like, with us, with everybody. And then the hope I got for Oakland, and for our youth is basically, like, I hope one day that we can invest into, like, a big coalition to where kids can actually have a place to stay and learn a trade. Because there's too much money going around to where I know kids that's poor and really don't have nowhere to go sometimes too, to where instead of incarcerating them because they don't have nowhere to go and making them go through the foster care system, they can have a facility to where kids is basically learning / having a place to live / and when they get out of there, they already have a certificate on whatever trait they learn, and they could be in it. We can have multiple internships. Like, now that I know how much money it is, I know it's possible. At first, I was thinking this before, and I'm like, I didn't really know. But now I know that there's so much money going around to where it can really be a big building, and we can hire a lot of stuff. That's what I'm saying. It's money. It's saying it's going to benefit everybody to where they can help the kids out to where once they finally get old enough to make a way for themselves, they already learned this trait. Because I know it's a lot of kids out here suffering on their own to where they don't have no fallback. So they look to rob and steal or do what they got to do to go to juvenile hall, to lightweight be in that process, to be in foster care. It's sad, but I feel like the outlook is if they invest in something to where they can just take their own kids, even if they, some kids that might have somewhere to go, but they might have a toxic family situation. Just all kids to where they have a place to go, like multiple buildings in Oakland. Even I feel like every city can have this type of big building, literally, so where any kids don't have to be on the street. So like they basically be in that program time long, 3 months, 4 months, and whatever they learn from that 3 months, and they can take that home with them. So it's gonna have a trade with them. So that's my hope and my future for the youth later down the lines.
Well, we're gonna have to make that happen.
One day.
You're gonna have to work on it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
We gonna get there. We got this.
Yep.
Real quickly, I also just want to add, because there's a lot of hopes that I have for this city, you know, that, you know, raised us and, you know, because, you know, like, unfortunately, like, with all the messed up that goes on in this city, like, it's still, like, home. It's still the place and the community that got us here, right? Like, because we had mentors and we had, you know, really our community backing us up, making sure that we are in these spaces, making sure that, like, our voices are heard, making sure that once, you know, we step down, our next generation is stepping up. Because that's my hope at the end of the day, is that when I'm done doing this work and I get to retire, you feel me, like that I know that my youngins are continuing to fight for their communities.
Right.
And then something messed up but also funny that Brezo mentioned is that when we do call the cops in the town when something goes down, they don't even come in like the next 5 minutes.
They
come in hours. They come in hours. And sometimes they come the next day, like in the morning. I'm like, bro,
that's
like, why do I even have to, why are you going to call, why I got to call you, you're not going to pull up? Like, aren't you supposed to make me feel safe? Aren't you supposed to protect me? And really something that I also recently learned is that the cops don't have, like, they don't even have to help you in a crisis. They're really just there to, like, write it down, have it in their notes, and, like, walk away, which is really effed up. Like, Libby, do you see this? This is what you're giving money to? But, you know, that's a conversation we're going to get into later, Miss Shaft, because I would like to have a conversation with you directly.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, listen to my voice. You want to talk
we
about
need to make that happen.
Me and Brezo and Liz gonna pull up to your house again.
Hey,
drink some tea. We would like to drink some tea with you and talk about what's going on in our community, in your city, right? But really just making sure, like, you know, everyone knows about the budget. I think that's something that's also, like, really we don't, like, we haven't really, like, touched upon. Is that, you know, fortunately you and Brezo and I know about this and our organizations know about this. But we need to, like, tap in with, like, families in our community. We need to tap in with the youngins. And specifically youngins because, like, I know a lot of our folks, they're really the translators, right? So making sure when they know, they go to their parents and like, hey, like, this is what's happening in our city. This is where our money is going. And, you know, making sure we touch upon, like, and I want to hit, like, because I grew up in a household where, like, they kind of already had their, like, set in rules, but making sure, like, hey, like, this is what cops do. This is how cops make me feel. Like, I walk into space and I see a cop, or I walk into space with my youngins and they see a cop. They don't feel safe. Why they don't feel safe? Because of what happened to Eric Salgado. Because of what happened to Stephen Taylor. Because of what happened to Mario Gonzalez. And I'm bringing these names into these spaces because much often they aren't heard, or they're heard and then they're just dropped. And we don't want that to happen. Miss Shaft, you know these names. You should know these names. Because these are the folks in the Bay Area that were lost by law enforcement. They were killed. They were murdered. Not lost. They were killed and they were murdered. So before you go to bed today, remember that. Remember that we're having this uncomfortable conversation because we have to have it. We have to make sure that everyone knows about what's going on in our city. And that's the reality of it, right? We're not going to just shove this budget away. We're not going to just let you do your thing and without having us know what's going on with our money. Like, we know what we want to do with our money, so listen to us. Cops do not deserve to get funded. The amount of money that's going to the police department, that's going into law enforcement, is ridiculous. they're increasing it by 11%. Do you know how much we could do with 11% of that?
Okay.
Like,
Come on now.
Ms.
Come on
Lisa
now.
recognize, like, we're you know what? And this is not where we stop. This is where we get fired up. This is where we put our youngsters on game. This is where we put our elders on game of what's going on. So I'm gonna keep it there. I'm gonna keep it a bug with you, Miss Libby Shaw. So I'm ready for that conversation where Brezo, Liz, and I are gonna pull up, have some tea in your yard, where you have a very nice home, by the way, in the hills. But you feel me, because I'm from the Dubs, Breezo's from Deep East, so we gonna set up a nice spot up in there. But that's my piece.
I appreciate you both. I really appreciate you both. And, I think this is why we're doing these Monday meals, because we want to give this kind of nourishment for folks to hear about, different voices in the community that are doing the work, that are, every day in and day out, working for justice and working for racial, economic, and environmental justice in Oakland and beyond. And just so that folks know, Cristina calling it out, that we all need to know about the budget. So the mayor was late on her budget that was due May 1st. She tried to put it on COVID and put it on her employees that they couldn't get it done. They could get it done because they are amazing workers, and we really want to get behind them. And then today at 1:00, so in the next 14 minutes, y'all get on to the city council meeting, because they're going to be reviewing and going over the budget. So you want to hop on public comment and let them know, let Mayor Schaaf know you see her games, you see how she's playing her games, and that, shame on her for making us all work really hard to look at this budget over the weekend on a holiday. We should have been spending time with our families and with our mothers and celebrating them, but we're spent looking over this budget. And today, the city council is going to go over that. So let them know you want housing as a human right. You want to reinvest in public services, reinvest in protection of frontline and essential workers, reinvest in reimagining public safety, reinvest and restore our arts culture programs, right? Let's talk about housing for artists. Let's talk about how art and culture programs are the first programs that go out there when you're talking about safety, and you're talking about violence prevention programs, right? Like, how many of y'all had those at your school where it's like, go do art if you want to feel better about your life, make music, draw, do all of these things. And so we got to be talking about that also. So we got about 12 minutes before we have to hop onto that. So I want to make sure that folks get a bio break. But thank you. Thank you, Breon. Thank you, Cristina. Thank you, CURYJ, for coming out today. Really appreciate you all. And I'm ready for that tea in front of Libby's house when you are.
Oh, yo, we ready to pull up. But
I
yeah,
see right there.
we just wanted to thank Liz for having this. Thank you to Oakland Rising. Much love, from CURYJ, our family, to yours. Also, happy Mother's Day. We celebrated today. So, go enjoy yourself. It's your day. But yes, we're ready for that tea party.
So who else wants to join us?
Everybody invited,
right? we don't discriminate.
Yeah, just a bunch of Deep East, Murder Those folks, East Oakland, everybody up in there. And she gonna recognize what real town love is when we all pull up to her spot.
When we showed up at her house last Wednesday, we were walking, and then we had signs and stuff, and a neighbor was like, her house is over there, and he pointed it to us, go ahead.
He knew what's up. He's invited too.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, y'all. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right,
go get that lunch.
All right,
okay, bye.
Bye.